Hey there, Laurel Beard here with another video for you today. This is a video and follow-up to our October virtual card class that I'm hosting with Justine Hovey. I will link to the other video at the end of this video for our last month's class, which featured alcohol inks, and this month we are featuring Distress Oxides. I'll also post a link where you can watch the replay live, or next month you can join our Facebook group and get a notification for when our live goes live and you can join us as well. So let's get started on today's cards. I'm making two. This is the Kaleidoscope background from Catherine Puller Designs, and I've gone ahead and removed that foam piece from the MISTI stamping tool, which is what I'm using to stamp my image, and that's some Distress watercolored cardstock there. This is Blueprint Sketch Distress Oxide, and I'm going to stamp that directly onto my watercolored panel. Now, I gotta tell ya, or my watercolor cardstock. I haven't watercolored the panel yet. But the MISTI saves me, I can't tell you, almost all the time, but especially with background stamps, because when you're inking up a large surface, it is pretty standard for me to miss a spot, which I'm going to do here. Now, since I'm going to heat emboss this, I am using my embossing buddy tool thing. It puts down some powder because I only want the embossing powder to stick to where my stamped image is. If you don't have this tool, try kitchen flour, cornstarch, baby powder, and prep your card with that first. So here I am. You're going to see that I missed a little chunk of my inking right there in the middle. So enter the ink and the MISTI again to save the day. Then I'm going to sprinkle on some Brutus Monroe embossing powder. This clear embossing powder is called Icicle. And then I'm going to go ahead and heat set that off camera. And then the smushing is going to begin. Now, real quick, when you heat emboss an image, make sure you kind of fan it off in the air so it's good and cooled off, because if your hand goes over an embossed image that you just heat embossed, it's going to smear your whole image. Why don't you ask me how I know that? So just fan it off in the air for a second or two. So I'm going in with the 4 colors of Distress Oxides that I'm using. Picked Raspberry, that looks like Wilted Violet, Squeezed Lemonade, and Candied Apple are the 4 colors that I'm using. And I've pressed them down onto my craft sheet, and then I'm spritzing each of the petals with some water to activate the ink there. You can add more water, less water, whatever floats your boat. And I'm going in and just smushing. I love smushing. Now, some people smush their ink pads onto like a plastic sheet so they can take the sheet to their card panel so they know exactly where they're pushing the color, but I like the mystery of it all. Now, you see my yellow is kind of off to the side. That's because if you mixed yellow with a pink or red, it's going to turn to mud. And if you want mud, hey, cool, but I didn't. So the key to layering these oxides, which is a very unique thing that you can do with the oxides, is make sure that the ink is dry before you start layering on the next color. And by doing that, the ink is going to actually sit on top of the other color instead of absorb into the color, which is causing mud, which is again what yellow and pink would do. So I'm going in and pressing some yellow and having a good old time, but each time I'm adding different colors, I'm going to dry the panel in between. I'm not going to show you the heat embossing because we would have been here for 20 minutes as I was going in between layers. You're welcome. I wanted some more yellow here, so feel free to add more colors. You could have pulled in a whole bunch of different colors if you wanted to, because that's what makes the oxides unique. You can layer color on top of color on top of color, and you don't have to worry about those colors turning to mud if you're adding colors that aren't complementary to each other. Does that make sense? I hope so. So I'm going to leave a little bit of white space here, just a little, and I'm going to almost call this card a day. Now, again, if you want to see what you're doing, you can smush it onto a piece of clear acetate or cardstock, or the backing of some of your stamp sets or whatever, and you can see what you're doing. But I like the mystery. So I'm going in with one final zap of my heat tool, and looks like I wanted some more purple, doesn't it? I do. I decided, hey, I covered up my purple, so I'm going to go in and add some more purple. So you can keep playing. I mean, you could, I guess, do this for hours, theoretically, if you wanted to. This panel here, in real time, probably took about 10 minutes because I kept smushing and drying, smushing and drying, smushing and drying. Totally up to you how many colors you use, what colors you use, so forth. So let's finish this card. This is the Blah, Blah, Blah stamp set from Honeybee Stamps. Seriously, blah, blah, blah. So the stamp set is so fun because you can build a lot of different sentiments. There's some coffee related ones. Do I have to adult today? Hang in there, friend. So you can be kind of snarky, funny, serious. It's a great little sentiment set. I decided to build my own because this is how I feel every Monday, and especially when I used to work. Thank God I don't have to anymore as far as getting out and getting dressed and going into an office. I do work every day because I'm a full-time mom, but still. So the sentiment that I built was Monday. Whose idea was this? Do you get it? I hope you get it. So I stamped that with some white pigment ink, sprinkled on some Alabaster white embossing powder from Brutus Monroe, and heat set that. And that's actually a panel I pulled out of the garbage, which is why you see that hello die cut. So, you know, check your can. I tell you that almost in every video. Check your trash can, see what's in there. You might have some good stuff rolling around in there. So I trim my panel down, and I'm just going to pop that up with some foam dimension. Obviously with a busy background as far as the kaleidoscope and then all the colors that we layered on top of each other, I just wanted to keep this card very simple. So I'm just going to pop this sentiment up with some dimensional foam tape there, and then I will cut off any of the excess. I'm brushing off any of the powder from my anti-static tool that was hanging out, and I'll trim off the sides here, and then I'm going to put, look how dirty the back of my card panel is. The things you notice on the videos, right? The things you notice when you're looking back at what you've done. So this is just some glue from Thermoweb that I'm using. I've almost gone through that whole bottle, I tell you. I'm just going to adhere that to a purple card base. I have a lot of colored cardstock, but it seems that I usually use them for card bases and nothing else, because 9 out of 10 my cards start off white. Like 99% of the time. Any cards, whether they're full of color or not, is white. Just so you know, I've got a presidential alert coming up on my phone. This is a test of the Nationally Wireless Emergency System, No Access, Go Away. Wow, that was loud. Totally not going to crop that out, even though I probably should edit that right out, but I'm not. All right, so let's move on to the second card. I wanted to show you how Distress Oxides work on dark cardstock. This is a dark gray. So I'm using the same color Distress inks here, and I'm just inking up this stamp. This is the Plaid background stamp from Catherine Pooler Designs. Again, using my MISTI, that foam piece is still out because that's a thick cling stamp. And I'm pressing hard, and I'm just going to go in and add all 4 of these colors to the background. Look at that red. That was Candied Apple. It softens a little bit as it dries, and because these are oxides, you can heat emboss them if you'd like to. So here I am going with yellow. Now I am cleaning off that Plaid stamp in between. I didn't do a good job here because there's got a little bit of that red got on my yellow ink pad, but I kind of smushed it onto a piece of scratch paper and got that red transfer ink off my pad. So make sure your stamp is good and clean so you're not transferring ink from one pad to another. I'm cleaning my stamps with the Brutus Monroe Squeaky Clean. It's made with like a rose oil, so it smells really good. It conditions the stamp every time you use it. And I prefer that to any other kind of cleaning tool out there. I tried my hand at the squeegee thing, but I had to, you know, if you don't keep it wet, it hardens and you got to go. It just was, I'm too lazy. So I really like the Squeaky Clean. So here I am going in with my 4th color here, right onto this dark gray. It also looks beautiful on craft, by the way. So you can see it's a little bit splotchy here and there, but that's the benefit of using the MISTI. You can go back in and add some colors and let them overlap each other, which is what I wanted to do. I didn't want like lines, harsh lines between the different colors. So you can go in until you're happy. That's why I use the MISTI. Save my batush every single time. You know what I'm saying? So I went ahead and let this dry. You don't want to touch it right away because it is, you know, a pigment dye ink blend, or hybrid, I guess they call it. So make sure it's good and dry, or zap it with your heat tool. This is Sassy Pants Best Friends from My Favorite Things, little snarky stamp set. It's super funny. Now this sentiment I picked out specifically for my partner in crime, Justine Hovey. Yes, I did. So I used my anti-static tool. I used a lot of it because I wanted to make sure that Oxide ink was good and dry. If I had skipped that step, I would have embossing powder stuck all over the place. So don't skip that step. Trust me, trust me, trust me. I've done it before and it was a huge mistake. This sentiment reads, "We've been friends for so long, I've forgotten which one of us is a bad influence. It's probably you." And this card is for Justine Hovey. It's true. We enable each other like no one's business. This is just some white. I don't think they made this particular thing anymore, but this is like white paint in a bottle, in a spray bottle. I'm just flicking it on there. Just look at that. Just flick, flick, flick. And then I adhered that to a card base, and that's this card. So yeah, two cards using the same inks. One is just stamping it right onto a color card base, and the other is ink smushing, which I love. I'm an ink smushing fool. It's true. So be sure to check the links below. I'll have a link to my blog post. I'll have a link to the virtual card classes page. These are all free card classes that we offer each month, completely, totally free. You can join the group. Hit that bell button to be notified of any of my YouTube videos. If you can't make the live class, we do repost the live in our Facebook group, and then we do a more professional video like what you're used to on our YouTube's channels of the cards that we made in the live. So we tried to cover all our bases for everyone out there, so you all can have access to the class. It's free, it's fun, we think so anyway. So thanks for joining me for this month's virtual card class on Distress Oxides. We'll be back next month with our next theme, and the date will be announced in our Facebook group. Be sure to check my links below. Thanks for watching.